Hello, Luca. Really enjoyed the brief conversation we had prior to beginning this recording. So excited to get into this. Could you give an introduction about yourself?
Rokas, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's great. It's great to be here. We already had a good time offline, so looking forward to this. Yes, my name is Luca, originally from Italy, as you can tell from my accent. Lived in England for 22 years and recently, about 18 months ago, moved to the Republic of Ireland.
Hmm.
I work in tech, in sales, which is my passion. Lifelong martial artist, beautiful family with a fantastic partner and three kids. And what else to say? Try to keep fit. And when I don't work, which is very little, my time is always spent with the family and good close friends and doing sport.
Okay. So, what in your right mind made you move from Italy to the UK for 22 years? What was the purpose of that?
Oh, look, I don't know how much time you have, but Italy is a beautiful country. If some criterias are met. And I come from very humble beginnings. My father left when I was 5 years old, which was a good thing because he wasn't a very nice role model. My mom was amazing. She gave me so much love and confidence. She wasn't used to having to make money. So my dad left us with a lot of debt. So when I was 13, 14, actually, I had to stop studying to help the family. And I started working in a metal factory, bending metal for the building trade. And
Mhm.
when I was 19, I landed my first sales job in advertising and I started making good money. So by the age of 25, we paid all the debts. My mom had enough income for her to be sustained. I had about 65 British pounds, which is about $80 or something in my pocket. And I thought, I looked at the map of the world. And if you look at the map of the world and you see where else they speak Italian, it turns out that nowhere else they speak Italian. And if you put that in context of the map of the world, you realize that you can only really interact with a very small bunch of people. So I thought, no, this is crazy. And I took the $80 that I had, went to the UK without speaking any word of English. Got fired from a kitchen porter wash-up role on the first shift because I couldn't understand what they wanted me to say. They were like, bada, 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 and I tried to read their body language and it went horribly wrong. And then I did it. I was determined and I learned English. And 3 years later, I started my first marketing business there. And then since then, I built 7 businesses in England. And England became a little bit my American dream, so to speak. I
Mhm.
was just on the verge of moving to San Francisco, and then I met this beautiful woman that then became my wife, and never went to San Francisco. So that's how I moved from Italy to the UK, and that's it.
Wow, so quite a story there. I want to go a bit more into. You said at
Was
19 you go into sales. What did sales teach you? Because it's when you speak to people like yourself or other high level people, they say sales. They recommend younger people get into sales because of what you can learn from it. So in your case, what did it teach you?
100% such a great segue. Not only sales, but I would get my son to go and do door to door. Yeah, so the roughest, the harshest type of sell that you can do, the better, because you develop skills that are beyond sales. You develop business acumen, you develop good ethical persuasion skills, you develop social skills, you develop determination. It's the closest business function to martial arts, where you know that if you're in sales, you're gonna get an infinite amount of no's to chase the one yes. And when you are able and capable to go through that grit of no's and treating no's like a determination factor, then I think it forms characters in a big way. So plus one, sales is very important. To me, I was very lucky for 2 or 3 reasons. The first one is that I was working for a competitor of the Yellow Pages, but this is an overstatement. The Yellow Pages had 600 agents, we had six. So we were a tiny, tiny competitor, right? And so the job at hand was hard. The second factor was that I was paid commission only. So if I sold nothing, I got nothing, and I had to pay my own petrol and so on. And so that gives you, urgency, right? You kind of have to bring it home.
Mhm.
And the other thing is that I had no ceiling. If I sold 1 million, I would have earned whatever commission, right? And I like that. I like that. And so I worked very hard, and within 3 or 4 months, I was making more money than any of my friends, right? Coming from a place where I couldn't study and so on and so forth. That was an achievement, and it gave me confidence. The last reason why I was lacking that particular job is because they didn't pay us anything, but I invested in training. So every 2 weeks, they will give us very serious training that now you will call NLP. And then I did study NLP, neuro linguistic programming, eventually, but they were teaching us that stuff before it was even branded that, right? So I was very lucky to be exposed to that kind of high level training at that young age without really having had an academic background. It was a way for me to study what I wanted to. So it was amazing. Yeah.
Okay, so very interesting that the what you just said about NLP and the other things you learned, maybe in terms of human psychology or other areas, where has that come in useful in your life since then?
I mean, every
Yeah.
in every aspect of life, absolutely. Even with my children, to try and understand how they see their model of the world, and then be part of it to try and influence a conversation that is at the same level. To business today, one of the things that I managed to do well in my career is leadership and sales coaching. Help. And I'm not a classic salesperson, or the classic. I'm not the kind of salesperson that goes through it by sheer determination. There's an art of matching real clients' needs with the solution that you have, and asking the right questions. And at the same time, in a highly competitive sales environment, you need to not only match a need to the right solution, but also coach young sellers, to go through the no's, to go through and I think NLP has made this process many folds easier. Now, NLP is a bit of a weird one, right? Because I became actually a coach's coach. So I could teach NLP, right? And that is part of the problem. That NLP, anybody qualifies tomorrow and they can teach the day after. If it's still, I qualified in 2005, so it might change. Hopefully it's changed. But the problem with that is that it's not regulated. I was incredibly lucky, and it was just luck with a bit of research, of course, that I found an incredible trainer, uh, amazing leader in the field. But you could find, a very poor trainer, and if you learn poorly, then you're going to have, a very poor experience. Whereas I did, and so I was again very lucky there. But NLP is fundamentally taught well in every area of life. Sorry, I segued a bit.
No, no,
I
all
think
good.
it's absolutely helpful in any, from relationship to business to sport. I'll tell you one story, and again, I digress. But I used to compete in semi-pro MMA. And I remember this one time. And by the way, I never wanted to be a professional athlete. I've always competed in kickboxing, fought for the British title, and I was happy to be a part-time athlete. I consciously didn't want to be a full-time athlete because I also liked other things. And MMA was the same thing. And I was playing with the big boys that were serious about making it a career. So I would go in and do 3 4 months of camp, and then relax outside of that and just keep the minimum training. So this one time I was fighting a middleweight, and they said last minute, "Oh, look, the opponent pull out. I have another fight for you, and is for the title middleweight." This was a BCC MMA in England, which is the feeding organization to Cage Warriors, which is then the feed into the UFC. So it's a big deal to fight for the title there, right? The guy that I was supposed to fight is called James Webb, incredible athlete. He would most likely have beaten me easily, right? But I'm a good martial artist. I've been doing martial arts for a long time. So he's better than me, bar none, for sure. But what if I throw a lucky kick? I'm a kicker. What if I throw a lucky kick and I land it on the chin and I win this belt? What am I going to do with it? I don't want that. I don't. This is not my career. I'm a weekend fighter. And so I said, no, I'm not going to fight James Webb. And it wasn't fear at all. It was just really respect that
Mhm.
it could have gone wrong for luck. So they gave me another guy, and this guy was 96 kilos. And it was the first time that I was literally really afraid. I was really scared. And before you go fight, you come at the back of the cage, behind the scenes, and they prepare you as they, let the previous fights out. And I got a panic. I just got so scared. I thought I want to go home, and this never happened to me. So I said to my coach, "Give me a second," and I went to the bathroom and I applied an anchoring technique that I learned in NLP, and I completely shifted and channeled that fear and it became aggression. Now, I'm not proud of it because if you look at that fight, I was very aggressive, I was a bit cocky. Thankfully, the camera didn't record it, but actually, I was in first in the cage. When he was coming in, I got in the middle of the cage and invited him in like that. Not like, I'm much more of a uh, graceful type of guy. It was Chandler, and I won that fight TKO in 90 seconds with a guy that was really big, and it was just fear. So NLP has done that for me. If it wasn't for NLP, I would have gone home. And the
Wow.
same in business. Many times I struggled, and I thought, I wanna stop this. This is hard. When I was building an agency in England, this is hard, and those techniques of reframing and understanding how your mind works, and then manipulating your own mind. My goodness, I can't tell you how helpful it has been in my life.
Wow. Didn't expect such a story from that. That was really cool. Thank you for sharing.
Of course.
What would the 7 businesses you spoke about that you'd started? What did that involve?
Yes. So the very first business was a restaurant. I got a job as a marketing manager, which means that you're a waiter, but you have a different title on your CV. I bought some shares in a restaurant, converted an outside area into a serving area, and we doubled the revenue, sold my shares. From there, I went back to do what I really wanted, which was marketing. So I opened a marketing consultancy business that worked with local brands. From there, I landed one gig, which was with a big company called Premier Food, a multinational, massive company in the UK. And that landed me a little bit of a brand, and it allowed me to build a proper agency. And from there, the agency grew, and I needed a proper office. I was working from home until then. I needed an office, and I found a perfect location with a building. I only needed one office, but this building had 9 rooms, and they were all they were going as a package. So because I'm a little bit of a dick, I don't know if I can swear, but I did.
Oh,
Uh,
good.
I just got the whole thing right. I thought I'll figure out what to do with the other rooms later. And not knowing what to do with the other 8 rooms, I opened a complementary health center, which was another business. And I had no experience in that. I only did it because in the town of Cambridge, where we were, there was only one serious one, and it was always booked, always fully booked, right? If you wanted to get a massage, you had to wait 2 weeks. I thought, no, this is obviously something that we can do here. So we opened a center that then became the biggest in Cambridge with 72 practitioners. Next door, there was an empty shop. It was an empty building, corner shop. And I'm Italian. I like Italian food. There was only one shop in Cambridge that sold Italian foods. It was extortionate. It was like they were charging crazy amounts. I thought, oh, I'm going to open an Italian shop. So I opened an Italian delicatessen. Now, I didn't have the time to run the shop. And so I got a dear friend of mine, and she was young. And I thought, why don't you run it? I'll build it, I'll do the stuff, and you run it. She said yes. She was French, so the shop became half French and half Italian. And then my wife is South African, and we stuck some South African stuff in it too. So that did well, and then we sold it. Then we opened a graphic design agency for the practitioners of the clinic that we opened because everybody needed marketing. So these are basically all in sales and marketing. And then eventually I sold everything, and I founded an agency that became the first serious business, a
Mhm.
marketing agency doing Google ads for e-commerce brands. We grew from nothing to we did about 2 million, just over 2 million in gross profit. We became the number one agency for the top 1% for Google Premier Partners. We won many awards, and that got me a few speaking gigs for Google or other organizations. So that became my only main business. Ended up writing a book about how to build an agency that was published and did very, very well. And that got me more speaking gigs and consultancies. So I had an agency, and then I would do some consultancies on the side. And the pandemic hit, and we went from working to the office to working from home. At that time, Rokas, I was traveling probably about 100 hours a month, give or take. And then with the pandemic, that stopped, converted the garage into an office. So all my business was like this, from an office. We had a very cool office in the UK. Commute to work was 7 seconds. So I had so much time.
Commute.
Yeah, it was across the garden, right? 7 seconds at the shop. This is a bit easy. And I think I'm not diagnosed, but I think I've got something like ADHD. Or so I'm hyperactive. I need to do stuff. I get bored really quickly. And so I thought, my God, what am I going to do here? The agency was doing well. We had a good team. And I thought, I know how to build businesses. Let me launch a program. So we launched this program called SAM, Secret Agency Mastermind. There was a program made of a library, an online libraries of videos, and people will go and consume the videos. Was structured from step 0 to step 7. So from personal habits and routines and mindset, so on, and then understanding who your clients are, building an offer, building traffic, sales, and da 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 da. And then they would have a daily coaching call, right, with coaches. I would have one call, and then I had other coaches that would do the other days. And we did 500,000 in the first year, so it skyrocketed, did very, very well. And then an opportunity came up to work for a large tech company that I loved, and to move to Ireland. And I thought, why not another adventure? So I exited the agency. I wasn't the only shareholder, so I exited the agency. I sold the coaching business and moved to Ireland, and that's it.
Very interesting. So it seems, since you said you have ADHD, you actually used it to your advantage instead of seeing yourself as a victim. Oh, I have ADHD, which means I can't do this, I can't do this. Instead, you harnessed it and you've done so many things and now built so many skill sets, opened so many businesses. Like, that was a very interesting story. It's very rare that you hear someone doing so many things and being successful at them throughout time. So, yeah, that's super cool. I'm wondering, since you've done all of this, what brought you to the real world?
Yeah, it's a great question. And for clarity, I don't know that I have ADHD. I behave as
Oh,
if I was
okay.
never
Interesting.
diagnosed. But I mean, let me tell you, and I'm not here to be the victim. There's no such things. But
Mhm.
grew up, in a poor with a broken family, and in Italy back then it was very unusual. People stuck together, even if they were unhappy. You wouldn't have families that were broken. I was very overweight when I was little. I had a lazy eye squint. I didn't have it all going for me, right? Stop school at 13. But I
Mhm.
mean, I made up academically. I mean, there's no one day that I go without reading something. I don't read fiction. I read, and no critique for those that do, but I learn all the time. So the past doesn't define our future. And for anybody who's watching this, if you do have ADHD or if you do have whatever curse you think you have, just get out of the mindset, because not only it can be a blessing, but also it's not helping you. Even if you do have something that limits you, right? And then, look, I don't want to be the toxic optimist and positive guy that everything is an opportunity. No, some things suck. Some things that happen to us absolutely suck, and it would be better if they didn't happen. But remunerating about whatever is happened to us and whatever limitations we have is never going to make us successful. Let's look at what we have and push forward. I battled with my Italian accent. I've been speaking English only for 22 years. Listen to me. I'm still sounding like I've arrived yesterday from Italy. And so what? And I wrote a book, for goodness sake. So harness whatever you do have and go with it, because remembering the limitations that we have is not going to go down well in any sector. So back to your question, and what brought me to the real world is the fact that I need to learn continuously. With my career, which is very high pressure and I love it, I would do it even if I was a trillionaire, because I love what I'm doing. I feel like I'm having a big impact on many people. There are specific trainings that we get, and in my role is particularly around leadership, around coaching people, around sales coaching, sales excellence, and all that kind of stuff, which I love. But I don't want to lose what brought me here. Like an athlete that then goes, I talk about combat sports because that's what I grew up. This applies to anything. Like an athlete, you train in the scrappy gym, and you make up your high protein meals in a scrappy way, and then you become the world champion, and everything is done for you in buckets, with the right grams of proteins and macros, and you have the best gym, and you traveled. You don't have to think about anything, right? When I was competing, at the time, there were not MMA gyms. There was a boxing gym, a jiu-jitsu gym, so you had to go place to place. And I think if you forget where you come from, I don't think you'll stop. I don't think it will be detrimental, but it will be a pity. It will slow us down. If we remember where we come from and we keep the eye of the target a little bit more, right? Remember Rocky when he had to fight Rocky 3, he had to fight that name, the Pierre Barak was the A-team guy, right? And they brought
Mhm.
him back to the rough gyms. I think that's very important. So for me now, I get this high level training, this very specific trainings and coaching. I want to always learn what got me here. So, the real world is everywhere online, at least on my feeds, and it's $50. So I thought, listen, if I go in and I just hear something that reminds me of something is worth it, let me check it out. So I did it for that reason only. So no expectation. I don't need to make any. Everybody needs to make more money, but I'm not in a place where I need to make more money. I'm okay where I am. I just a pure thirst for learning more and for remembering the stuff that we forget. I have a very specific routine, and I typically dedicate at least 45 minutes, sometimes an hour in the morning to learn, and I change subjects. So I just finished a business learning and merger and acquisition learning, and I thought, let me go into it. So I get into the real world in the morning at 5:30, 5:30, and I go through the material that interests me. The campus, the way is structured is fantastic. So it allows me to go and refine my skills on certain things.
Mhm. And which campuses did you end up getting into?
Yeah, so again, I'm a chronic learner. So first thing first, I went through the business mastery and sales mastery campus. Although I didn't, and I mean, I'm recognized to be a sales leader. There's always more that you can do. And let me tell you, in terms of strategies and tactics and frameworks, I knew most of them or a version of them. But I picked up one thing, and maybe I'll tell you later, that has made a massive impact. And I'll tell you later, maybe remind me if I don't, from the
Mhm.
sales and mastery. But to answer your question, I finished that. And even though, a lot of the stuff I knew, I finished the whole thing. And I think that's the way we should go about things. I mean, if it's clearly useless, that's different, right? But not stopping things because we think, oh, I'm already a black belt in that. That's poor decision making.
You begin learning again as a black belt. I know it's like quote something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Well, if I don't anymore, when I was coaching kids, or even young people that wanted to fight, as I was explaining things, I remember thinking, oh gosh, the breakdown that I've just done has taught me something, right? So very important. But anyways, and now I'm doing the content creation in AI because my biggest goal in life, my legacy statement, is to impact in a positive way uh, millions of people and elevate their lives in business and in life. I want to know on my deathbed that I've helped many people indirectly elevate their lives. To do that, I
Mhm.
need content, and I've been super terrible in the last year with content. I've not really done much on any of my platforms. I promised myself that I was going to publish the second book this year, and I haven't really done that yet. I still got some time. And so, content creation is something that is important to me. And my goal is to create more content. Don't have anything to sell, but it's just to inspire and to help, not just to inspire, but to help people that can use what
Mhm.
I've already learned.
All right. Be a positive force for the world.
100%. Yes, that's my
Mhm.
goal. And I mean that in a humble way. I know that I don't know many things, but I've done few things that I'm sure people in a perhaps earlier stage of their life can use. And look,
Mhm.
I mean, like you hear this sentence all the time. If I did it, anybody can do it, but it's true. If I did it
Mhm.
with my conditions, and look, there are people that come from much harsher conditions and they do much bigger things than I did, but certainly I think I can be of help for
Mhm.
some people. And that's what I want to do.
It is all mindset. That's really what it comes down to. It's all in your mind.
For sure, for sure.
Mhm. Okay, so I would like to hear what was that lesson you spoke about in the Business Mastery Campus? Since there's
Great.
so many lessons anyway, I'm sure it's fine to reveal one of them. That's completely fine. So yeah.
This is a big one, because I think it brings so much meaning to cliche things like, always be a white belt mentality. There's always something you can learn, and this is really the materialization of that. So I was listening to the business mastery course, the campus, and I think it was Professor Arno. and
Hmm.
I think it was stated in that tape as well. And they said, if money is your goal, or even if it isn't, if you can do with more money in your life, and if more money is not a problem, if you would like to have more money, you're gonna have to see money everywhere. Meaning you're gonna have to see opportunities everywhere. Things like you walk into a shop or a coffee shop or whatever, you think, oh, how could I make more money? If this was mine, what would I do to make more money? How could I improve the service, the product, the marketing, right?
Hmm.
Or if you have a conversation, if you know that there is something that you can give of value, can you monetize that? And so the sentence somehow landed and then stayed with me. And then about a week or two later, on a Saturday, I had a conversation with this business contact of mine, and he called me up and he said, Luca, I have this great idea. I want to build an English course, an English language course aimed at CEO professionals who in Italy, who could do more business, should do more business internationally, but can't speak the language. Great idea, fantastic. And he said, well, I'm an English teacher. I build English tuition. You are a sales and marketing guy. Can we join venture? I mean, it's a big opportunity. And I said, no, I can't join ventures. I mean, my job, and I've had businesses all my life. I love this job, takes all my time. When I don't work, I want to work because I've got exciting projects. I don't have time. It will be unfair on you. But I thought, you know what I can do? When the pandemic hit, I built a business just like that. It was an online library. We done live coaching. We would teach businesses how to grow. You're teaching business people how to speak. It's the same thing. So what I can do, I can go into the library. The business was sold, but I have my library with my videos. Put them in the doc, step by step, teaching you exactly how you can build the same business, the structure, how to find clients. I can give you the scripts for the marketing, scripts for social media, scripts for the sales, script for the emails. I give you everything. And he said, that's fantastic. How much? I said, £7,000. First number that came to mind, right? And he said, yeah, that's fine. That's for the American friends out there. It's about $8,995. And yeah, he got it. And I said, you know what? I'll give you my WhatsApp number as well. If you have any questions, just ask me, and I'll reply before or after work, right? So before in the morning or after in the evening. And it's not asking many questions because the material is clear. It was designed to be sold. We will sell the coaching program for $10,000 for 6 months. So obviously it's high quality. He wins because he's building a business of somebody that is already done it with scripts for social media content, emails, and everything else. I win because I made $9,000 in 46 minutes and a half. So, and that came because of a sentence that I heard in one of the modules. In one of the modules about sales, which is an area that it would be easy to think, oh, I don't do that because I know that. I'm a master of that. It would have been so easy for me to not do that. And so the
Hmm.
lesson that I learned is keep your white belt mentality. You can always learn something new. And even if you don't, you can remember something that can make you a lot of money. In this case, $9,000 in 45 minutes.
Right, right. Very cool. And it relates to, let's say, entrepreneurs who have achieved a lot. They'll tell you about all the things that haven't worked out for them in the past, all the businesses they tried to do that, yeah, again, it didn't work out, but it taught them something. They learned new skills from it. In your case, it's something that did work out, but it's still, because you've done it, you could also use it for something else in the future. So even whatever scenario happens, whether it works out or it doesn't, there could still be some kind of application for that thing in the future. You just can't see it yet because can't see the future. But then looking back on it, as you connect the dots, so many times you see all those things you tried and that ended up helping you with your current endeavor. So proof of that here as well.
I mean, Rokas, you touched on a good point for me. You asked me questions that led me to answer with positive success stories. This is what I want. It's the highlights, right? I can tell you countless examples of things where I destroyed my confidence, where I was so close to giving up, where it got really hard. When I'm not a guy that cries, no problem with crying. I just don't really do that physically for some reason. But I had my head in my hands more times than I like to admit. And that's where you learn. You don't learn when you win. When you win, you don't. When you win, you celebrate. When you win, you can learn when you win, but it's difficult, because your whole energy changes. I won, I feel good. The ego is stroked. But when you don't win, you have two choices. Then the only two choices, whatever people say, when you lose, only two things can happen to you. You quit or you go back. Either is the same, or you learn. And and again, I'm gonna diverge. I hope that's okay. But when we did a business that I told you about, I did $500,000 in the first 6 months, first year, but most of it in the first 6 months. The first version was we didn't build anything. So I built 3 slides and I did a webinar and I met with 10 people and I said, this is what I'm gonna launch. It will be $10,000. If you buy today as a founding member, you pay $4,000. It will launch in 3 months. And so we made $30,000 before we made anything, right? Because otherwise we would have spent so much time and money making things. They got a good deal because they got in for $4,000, and you can put them in an escrow account, whatever, for security. But they were happy, we were happy. But then when the business became serious, we thought, okay, we can't. And so the first iteration, sorry, was like a minimum viable product. So the videos the content was good, but it wasn't done in a professional way. It wasn't edited in a professional way. When the business became serious, we needed to redo everything. I had to redo about 100 hours of recording, right? Done properly. So I did everything and I took out Saturday and Sunday, full day. I told my wife, I'm going to be away for these 2 days to record the last little bit. I've done the first, so I took out the Saturday first. At the end of the day, I looked at the material and there must have been a technical glitch. The sound was not good. So the second day, the Sunday, I had to redo the whole thing. And then another problem came out. There was a glitch. I can't remember what it was. I had to redo the whole thing. So I came out of the office. I remember stepping into the garden thinking, that's it, I'm done. We're just going to keep what it is. We're not going to push the business anymore. We're just going to, fuck it, I'm done. And then luckily, a thought was sent to me by someone. And the thought was 99.9% of people at this stage will quit. They would quit. All I have to do to win is to just do it again. And that's what I did. And then the business took off in a big time. So yeah, absolutely. You learn so much when you lose.
Oh, again, love your stories. That's another thing about it. Going through all of that creates some very interesting stories and adds. I mean, it makes you feel alive, I guess, as well, because you're actually doing things with your life, and it's not the same day over and over, or mundane. So quite a array of experience from your end. Super interesting to listen to. What does your daily, what does your average day look like now? Then, if you were to break it down.
Yeah, so tend to get up at 5 o'clock, meditate. Typically, up until this month, I will meditate about 10, 12 minutes. And now I'm getting a bit more serious about it. So I meditate. This morning I've done 45 minutes, which is the longest I've ever done. So meditate. Always, I call the victory area the hour. So I meditate, I learn something, and then I do a little bit of exercise. Now in the morning I might just do 50, 100 push-ups or whatever. I tend to train in the evenings because I go Muay Thai and so on. But I tend to get my body awakened a little bit, right? So these three things happen in the morning, and then between 7:30 and 8:30. I look at things that are perhaps outside of my day job, that I'm interested in, or if I have to, whatever I'm writing, I do stuff that is outside of my day job. Then from 8:30 till about 6:37, I'm in my day job, and that is really high demand, and it's very fast. It's a high pressure. I'm super lucky because I'm either leading or in or part of very big important projects. At regional level, regional meaning like EMEA, and so it keeps me really focused. I mean, when I'm at work, I just and then when I come home in the evening, it's family, and then I go to the gym. Typically, I train every day, 3 days a week. I go do Muay Thai, and I come back a bit more family time, and then by 11 o'clock I tend to go to bed. In between, when I travel, I have got audiobooks, so I'm always trying to learn just because I like it, and so I'm always trying to learn and trying to enrich my life in some way, and do things that I've not done before, and meet people that I've not met before.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and just learning more about life, really, in all these avenues. I think you learn a lot about life. Yeah, so that's my typical day. I don't know if it answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Okay, so what benefits have you found from meditation? Because it's something I do as well. Huge benefits from my end, but there's still people who think, you're wasting time. You should be doing something else. So I want to hear from your end. What benefits have you found?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting comment. You're wasting time. You should be doing something else. I take that comment from people if they spend no time on social media, if they spend no time on TV, if they spend no time doing meaningless activities, and all their time is spent productively, either for them or for the world, then I might listen to that's a waste of time. But until I'm talking to somebody who's 90% of the day, apart from sleeping, is spent productively, you should be doing something else. It's not an argument for me.
Mhm.
Personally, meditation gave me two things. They talk about, you can control your mind, you're more in control of your environment. I read a lot of Stoic philosophy. So um, I don't know that meditation helps me do that, but I think the unequivocal benefit that I get from meditation is one, discipline, because it takes discipline to do nothing. It takes discipline to be away from the instant notification that devices can give you, and even work can be that, right? It doesn't have to be social media. So one is the discipline of actually sticking to it. Two, I find that I'm so much clearer when I meditate. So I tend to sleep 6 hours a night, and that's enough for me, but it's the verge. So if I sleep 5 and 45 hours, 45 minutes, that's too little. So six is really what I'm okay. And if I sleep a little bit less and I don't meditate, I feel it. If I sleep a little bit less and I meditate, I don't. Right? It doesn't make
Mhm.
it good for my body. I still should get 6 hours, but it gives me clarity of mind for sure. At the moment, I'm exploring a lot of energy management. I do believe in energy, and I don't mean this in an esoteric way. We are energy. We meet people, and there's something that you pick up,
Mhm.
and it's beyond body language. Sometimes it's energy as well. So I'm
Mhm.
exploring that. Um, and that's it. I think that's it. Really, I mean, it makes me feel clearer, and I like that I do it because I said I was going to do it. So it's discipline.
Okay,
What
very
about
fair.
you? What about you? Do you have?
So a few things to say there. Actually, quite a lot of things to say, because I used to do podcasts with a former monk. He was a monk in a Hindu temple for 12 years in a island of Hawaii called Kauai. I think it's called Kauai. So up in the mountains, there's a Hindu temple over there, and he was training there for 12 years. So he got very adept in meditation. And something he taught me, maybe a technique you want to implement as well. In order to enter a deeper state of meditation, you need to do free breathing techniques beforehand.
Mhm.
Technically, there's 12, but he says these are the three most important ones to do. Again, to enter a deeper state of meditation. So, first, you do 9 seconds of breathing in through your nose, 9 seconds of breathing out through your mouth. You do that for what feels like about 1 to 2 minutes. Make sure you're relaxing your body as you're breathing out. Just be fully relaxed with that. Then you go on to the rapid breath, which is two sniffs in through the nose and two quick puffs out through the mouth. As an example, and you do that for again about 2 minutes, 1 to 2 minutes. You'll start to feel your body heating up, maybe your fingers tingling a bit. That's when you know that you're starting to enter in deeper. Then you give yourself about a minute break, and then you do 9 seconds of breathing in through the nose and 18 seconds of blowing out through the mouth. You make a small hole and you blow out through it. So, example, just imagine there's a candle in the distance that you're trying to blow out. Do that also for about 1 to 2 minutes, and then the final three times you do it, just do it without counting. But try to what feels like 9 seconds in, 18 seconds out. And after that, you can go to normal breathing in and out through your nose, and you'll feel you can meditate so much longer as well. Because if you're just from the start trying to focus on your breath, that's the same as mimicking sleep. So you're not doing that much. Whereas if you do these breathing techniques beforehand, he explains it, it's like a Trojan horse. It allows you to enter a deeper state in your mind again. So we definitely recommend trying it out.
Yeah.
and seeing how it feels. Because I can easily do 20 to 30 minutes, and it feels so good to be in that state as well as I do it. And without the breathing techniques, maybe I can do like 10 minutes max because it's just not the same. So yeah,
It's very,
but
very interesting. Very, I will definitely reach out and bug you for uh, notes. I didn't want to make notes whilst we are on
no,
this.
this will be uploaded, so I'll just send you
Oh,
the video, and easy. You can watch the video.
100%. You know, I'll definitely implement that for sure. Thanks.
Cool. And as for how it's helped me, helped a lot with speaking. Okay, just in general, how I see it is just in day to day, you what's it called? You consume a lot of information for your mind, especially for myself, since I'm online a lot. There's a lot of high speed, fast paced information, and eventually it all starts clogging up your mind. And when you meditate, it gives you the silence and kind of peace of mind to actually filter through those thoughts that you've absorbed. And it's like in a computer, let's say you can imagine trying to sort through a million files to try find that one file. Let's say it's a word or sentence you want to say. So maybe even speaking is harder because it takes longer for your mind to find like the right phrasing for the words to come to you. Whereas when you meditate, it categorizes those files. Let's say instead of having to search for a million files, it's categorized into like 10,000 files per. Wait, how would I say? Like 10,000 files, and then it just goes into it and it has to search for 10,000 instead of a million. And it comes to you so much faster. So that was a really weird analogy. But for me, it's speaking has become so much easier after I've started meditating because the words just come to me. Whereas before, I used to struggle quite a bit. Even if you look at the start of when I started these interviews 8 months ago, I barely spoke. I barely showed personality because it was hard for me to come out of that shell because it was hard for me to find the right words to say. And I didn't want to embarrass myself by thinking too long. And yeah, I don't know. It's also a skill. Obviously, as you do it, you improve. But it's also meditation. It's definitely something meditation has helped me with because when I've stopped meditating for maybe a month, it starts coming back. Words are harder to find, harder for me to articulate, so that's definitely something. Second thing is emotional regulation. Definitely helps with that. Don't know if you've experienced that as well. I think you probably would have. And what else? Discipline, obviously, as you say, definitely very good. Just in general, getting into. I'm quite a spiritual person, not necessarily religious, but spiritual. So I believe in the soul, and it basically allows you to go deeper into your soul, as in let your soul come out instead
Yeah.
of just purely living through ego. So that's a quite it's a nice feeling when you go into a deeper state of meditation. I know I've said that so many times now. It's very blissful when you reach that state. So and I think that's also why you say if you meditate, it helps you. If you haven't slept properly, but you meditate, it still helps your mind because you're entering that deeper state. It's a different wavelength. So it actually does restore you and your mental functions when you enter that state. So yeah,
Yeah.
I know I've rambled a lot, so I'll just end it there. What are your thoughts on everything
You
I've said?
articulated incredibly well my point on clarity. And I think it shows up in that way. It shows up when you speak, clarity in finding the files that you mentioned. When you don't sleep enough, clarity of still operating, clarity in emotional regulation, because emotional regulation, it really is the way we interpret the events that happen to us and how we respond emotionally, right? So to regulate the emotions, first we need to change the interpretation. We can still leave the interpretation like it is and regulate our emotions, but that's much harder. If we think something is very injustice, it's very difficult to be, or it's more difficult to be stoic. If we can change, that person has done that to me, but not because they wanted me to suffer, because they made a mistake, right? If that's generally what happened, right? They made a mistake. Or, haters, whenever you're online a lot, and I had to be online a lot for, you get haters. It doesn't matter what you do. And a good experiment that you can do is to go and see somebody like, I don't know, Robbie Sharma or Tony Robbins, people that are generally very loved. Go on Amazon and look at their books and then select their views by stars, and you will see that not only do they have 1 or 2 stars, but the 1 or 2 stars are very mean comments, right? So you always have haters. It doesn't matter what you do. and changing the meaning, the interpretation of the the hater's comment, allow you to reframe and the meaning, and therefore to regulate your emotions. And I feel that when you meditate regularly, that happens very, very quickly. When you don't, you have to remind yourself of
Mhm.
this thing more consciously, which is harder. So, no, I loved your analogy. I think it makes a lot of sense.
And there's one more thing I want to say about this. Meditation, how would I say this? In day to day life, a lot of people, they usually externalize a lot of things. Even it could be something like, when I reach this state, when I achieve this goal, then I'll be happy. Even something like that. So many people externalize to that. And then you reach that and you realize, damn, this isn't how I thought this would be. And then you just try, maybe externalize again. You're thinking, but when I reach that, then it'll definitely make an impact on me and make me happy. So at some point you realize you can't externalize that. It's all internal. And there's two stages of this. One, finding happiness within, and two, all answers you can actually find from within as well. And with both scenarios, meditation is something that will help you reach both things. It might be, it might take years, because it's a practice which you need to a lot of consistency, discipline for, in order again to reach that state. But meditation is something which will help you reach that. What are your thoughts on it as well? On that?
100% agreed. I think two things. So happiness within, yes, I find that a lot of people, I think if you are not there, if you're not able to see it, it's very difficult to understand what happiness within means. Right? When you get there, you think, oh, I get it now, right? But before, it's difficult, right? And it's almost like describing the color red to somebody who's never seen it, right? And then you give him eyesight, and okay, I know what you meant when you said it's bright and powerful and aggressive. I know now what you meant, but before, it was difficult. There is a book that I read about a couple of months ago called The Power of Now. And I think it's the book that has done the job of explaining this in the best way. And The Power of Now, it really talks about being in, but not just being in the moment, being mindful. It goes beyond this, and I'm not going to even attempt to recall and reproduce what they said, because I think I would do it an injustice. But I think when you understand that, you do understand that. And I say this with the utmost respect for people that feel in a bad place right now, but most people have happiness right now, irrespective of where we're at, irrespective of our situation, irrespective of, and I think I was very lucky, and I can't take any credit for it, but from a young age, I I did that. I really focused a lot more on the good things that I had, and it wasn't a conscious thing. I can't take credit, but I think it pays so much uh, ROI, because the bad things, you need to do two things with the bad things: address them when you can affect them, or completely ignore them if you can't. There is nothing else to do. Yeah. So if I have a broken window, right, I can either fix it if I have the means, the ability, the tools, or the people that can come and do it. If it's Sunday night and I have no clue, I'm gonna have to ignore it. I'm gonna have to make do's to keep the elements out, and then I'm gonna have to ignore it. And if cold is what I'm feeling on my skin, I'm gonna have to reframe that. I'm gonna have to think, this is gonna make me grow. This is gonna give me more resilience. It's the only way. I know that it sounds crazy, but this is the only way. Because what else could you do? You can either mourn or grow. Once you
Mhm.
decided that you cannot fix it, you can either mourn or grow. That's it. And I've always been a kickboxer. I started at 10 with karate, did kickboxing by 16, competed high level kickboxing, and then I started getting into wrestling just for passion. Didn't want to fight. I was 33 when I started, or 32, so too late for MMA. But I loved it. During training, severely broken or ruptured my ACL, my crucial ligaments. Bad injury, like a year out. Big operation. They typically take, well, there's a couple of ways, but one of the ways that is stronger is to take the hamstring as a replacement, which means that you have two surgeries, one on your knee and one. So, anyways, and when it happened, I thought, okay, you know what? Now that it happened, they say a year to recover. I'm going to show the world that in 9 months I can recover and do an MMA fight at 33, and I did it. And that got me so interested in MMA that I ended up doing 5 fights, which I love. And now I have a highlights video that I can send out and look like a badass. So, and look, I think when things happen to us, work hard to fix them. But when you realize this cannot be fixed any longer, this is nothing more that I can do, you're going to have to reframe it. And so happiness is today. Even if when stuff happens, there's many other ways, reasons, and things to be happy about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I,
Damn, I didn't expect we'd get into this whole thing, but super interesting. I'm glad we did.
yeah, for sure.
And when you said The Power of Now, Robert Greene, right? I believe.
I forget. Apologize the title. I
I think it was
forget the
Robert Greene.
author. I can look it up. Hold on. I've got it on my
And what
library.
were you going to say?
I was going to say I totally agree on the attributing happiness or banking on happiness depending on external factors like belongings or achievements. It never works. Even if they do turn out to be like exactly like you wanted, that's not going to make you happy, because stuff
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make you happy. A relationship, a house, they don't make you happy. They give you fun, satisfaction, maybe security, but not happiness. Happiness is
Mm-hmm.
something completely different, in my opinion. So the
And
power.
Eckhart Tolle, my bad, not Robert Greene. It's Eckhart Tolle. I just looked
Yes,
up.
yes, exactly. Yes.
My bad.
Yeah, fantastic. And he has an incredible voice as well, because I listened to the audiobook, and his voice
Mm-hmm.
is is perfect for that type of stuff. So very, very good book. Very good book.
Very
Uh,
good.
depending on anybody's state of mind or stage in their spiritual exploration, you might pick it up and put it down, and pick it up again in 6 months, and maybe it will work then. But yeah, you need to bear with it.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering, do I go even more into this? It's been 15 minutes. Okay. Well, I guess we'll leave this going deeper into this for the follow-up interview we do. I like to do follow-up interviews every 3 or 4 months or so, just to check in with the person, see how they're doing, how the progress is going. So at some point I would like to do a follow-up with you, and then we can continue on this trail of thought as well. Otherwise this is going to go on for too long. If we continue. Okay, so let's go back to the real world. I haven't asked you, how different is the material, the learning resources within it compared to what you can find out on the internet?
I have a very, very good question. So I'm very honest here, right? So I'm a very transparent person. I have no attachment to anything. I actually got into the real world because I was following Justin Waller, who's, I like his business practices a lot. And so it's not that I came in with a bias on this is going to be amazing because, I'm a fan of Tate. I'm a fan, I don't really respect these people enormously, amazing business people. But I came in here just because I thought, let me see, what's in it. $50 is just, you got everything to gain, nothing to lose. And I must be honest, and I say this with so much respect, and I hope it comes across not offending, but I didn't expect much. Not because of the people around it, because the people are amazing, but because $50. I mean, I built a program. I know how difficult it is and how expensive it is, and look, we sold our program for $10,000, and hands down, our program wasn't as good. And not because we didn't try to make it as good. We tried, we didn't know, and I still don't know how they did it. I still don't know how they managed to, obviously with the numbers. Okay, I get that, and that comes with influencing, but to create a program like that, where I don't know what I can describe, but there are many campuses. If you are any person that wants to build a career or build a business or make money for that matter, you think, okay, well, I want to do it through, I want to make money through creating content, then you can do that. I want to make money through becoming a freelancer, a consultant, you can do that. Sales, e-commerce, drop you can. And so when I heard this, which is what it's online, you think, okay, you're gonna get there. They're gonna tell you the 5, 6 things that are obvious and only beginners don't know. But that's what I expect. And I say this with respect, just because of the price tag. And then when I got in, I was like, am I perhaps being given access to something more by mistake? Something that maybe cost $10,000? Because you have, I mean, there's like a real professor, they call it, so a real coach, a real person who's being successful in that particular area right now. Because some of the problems with online courses is that the person might have been good 10 years ago, And then they teach stuff now, but they don't do it anymore. So the stuff that they teach was good then, it's not good. Here you have people that are doing exactly what they teach you today. Oh, the stock stuff. There's also stock trading, and there are people there who do it now, and they are successful now. So you learn from there. Not only there, but they are live there. If you ask any questions, they're there. They get back to you immediately. In very short time, I'm doing a content creation course. And look, I know how to create content. I know something about creating content. I don't know obviously everything. I have to submit an exact video in order for me to get access to the next step. So I mean that's incredible because you're not going to get this wrong. Let me explain this. Sometimes people say, oh, if you work hard and you're consistent, you're gonna win. And I think that's so wrong. Because if you work hard consistently on the wrong thing, you're just gonna go to the wrong place very fast. Here, they won't let you go to the next step unless you've demonstrated that you got it, you know. And so there's that. Then there's the live chats if you have questions. And every single campus, every single module has got these dynamics that other people that are there to support. I cannot understand how they're priced at $50. So it's incredible. I am not an affiliate. I don't earn anything. I don't have any fetish, fun tendency towards any of the founders. It's just an incredible product. It's incredible. I mean, if anybody has $50 in their pockets and they want to build a business, I mean, look, if you put your head down there in a month, I think you can actually start and grow a business. I'm thinking about getting my son, he's 14, into the real world because he wants to do drop shipping with nice shoes. Yeah, get in, and because I have the confidence that they will teach it. They will teach him everything. It's amazing.
Mhm. Very well put. I love how you phrase that. So, since you're on this trajectory, where do you see your life heading in the short term, medium term, and long term?
You mean with the real world?
Just in general, whether you'll apply things from the real world that you'll do in future
Yeah.
or something else. I'm just wondering, in terms of your
Yeah,
life trajectory, where do you see it going?
yeah, with the real world, I just want to do expectation management because I have my career, my business is sorted. I'm doing it for my passion of learning. That doesn't mean that it might not present opportunities. I shared earlier how it made me $9,000 without even wanting
Mhm.
or looking for money. So real world, I'm committed to finishing all the modules that I'm interested in. I'm not interested in stocks, for example, so I won't go into that. But all the stuff that I'm interested in, I will definitely consume the material because I have confidence that it's high quality. In terms of my life, so I'm 47 years of age now, and I am the fittest I've been in all my life. I am the healthiest. I have a beautiful family, and so I have absolutely all the elements that that I wanted to have, at this age. From now going on, there's two things that I want to do. One is to achieve a different level of fitness. I want to look and feel and be the strongest and better looking that I've been going forward, and so I'm spending a lot of time on that. I would like to give it a shot. It's not important, but I like to give it a shot to a big commercial event. Meaning, I like to give it a shot to see how much liquid money uh, could be made through something that has zero time involved, but only my experience. And this is very badly articulated because it's a thought that was provoked by your question. But essentially, I have a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge. I would like to know and to try and translate that into a big commercial event by maybe acquiring a business that is struggling and then turning around and sell it for a big exit or something like that. I
Mhm.
haven't thought about it yet because before I put my mind to that, there's a very big career goal that I would like to achieve. I can't talk about it here, but it's
No
it's
problem.
it's a big step in my career. And if I was to do it, it would mean many things in the positive, from financial to impact and so on. But also, it would be, to the best of my knowledge, unprecedented. It would be the first time that somebody uh, manages to do that in the time that I did.
Very interesting. Okay. Um, so, seeing how much you have achieved, again, very possible, everything you've said to do. I don't know the specifics, and that's completely fine, but I'm sure I like to think if you're able to conceive of it, it's possible for you to do it because otherwise you wouldn't be able to conceive of it. So I don't know what your mindset on that is, but yeah, that's how I see things. So to other people, it might seem crazy when you tell them your goals or what you plan to do, but yeah, I don't see it that way.
I agree. I mean, so in the morning I do part of the learning is to dedicate 5 minutes to the mind movie, which is basically a Google Slides presentation that has my goals in sentences and images, right? And I go through that every morning to remind myself of the things that I'm
Hmm.
after. My immediate goal, which is the one that I shared about career, and then there's a house goal as well. They're all goals, but I'm trying, so I'm very clear. And in the morning when I go through my movie, they're very material. I want to buy an Aston Martin DBS at some point. I don't need any of that. I've got the house that I need, got the money that I need.
Hmm.
But the big commercial event I was talking about is for fun. Is why not? Let's try.
Hmm.
I've got this knowledge. There are so many businesses that if I go in, I don't have the time because I've got this time intensive career. But if I can go in, acquire the business, tell them what they need to do. They do it, and we do a big exit that could make 2, 3, 4 million. And I've
Yep.
done nothing, but I've done 30 years of experience that allow that business to do it, right? So, but it's more, I wouldn't call it a game. I want to be respectful. It's important, but it's a challenge. It's a challenge my happiness doesn't depend on, put it that way, right? So I think it's super important to have ambitious goals and always thrive for excellence and thrive for things that are impossible, but don't attach your happiness to it.
Hmm. It's part of just living life. You're experiencing what life has to offer, learning new things, expanding your consciousness, even. Because how I see it is your soul wants to learn new things. It wants to, again, it can expand itself by learning new things. So you learning all those skills, going through everything you've gone through, it's an expansion of of consciousness, which is also why we're so driven to do those things. At least, again, that's how I see it. More spiritual, but yeah, just wanted to add.
Yeah, I think it's a great addition. Absolutely. I totally agree. I think the more you know, right? And the more you know, the more you see. And even the stuff that doesn't go through, you work, you work, you work, you work, you work, you work, you get nothing, but you're better.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something. It may not be what you were trying to work towards. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
with this commercial event I'm talking about. If I can turn the business over and it works, and then at the end we sell it and it doesn't work and we don't get the money, whatever, the experience will make me better, and that
Yep.
being better will pay off in some other ways, some other time. And again, it's not really attaching happiness to those things. It's very important. And then, of course, these are all nice to have goals. When I had no money and I was really in a difficult place, I had a financial goal, and there was I call it a top 90 day one thing. There was like, I was obsessed. There is a different attitude. I'm going after it like a tiger, right? But right now, my main goal is to explore myself, to grow into a better person and to have an impact on the world. The Aston Martin DBS, the big commercial event, these are stuff that I go after with respect and I'll try my best,
Mm-hmm.
but they are nice to have.
Right, right. And then one more thing, what you said about the morning vision things you do. I don't know how exactly to frame it. I don't know. I'll say affirmations. That's the closest thing I can think of. Uh, so i- at this point, it's not even surprising to me that you do this because quite a few successful people that I've spoke to now, well, successful, obviously relative, people I look up to. Let's frame it that way. People I look up to, it's very common for them to do things like that. Even just carry around maybe flashcards where they have written down affirmations that whenever they remember, they look out for the day. And it's like, wow, they've achieved so much already, but they still do that sort of thing. But then if you say that to someone who's not achieved much in their life, maybe they're struggling, and at let's say a very young person, you tell them something like that, they think there's no way that can help you. It's not just mindset. There's so much more to it that won't help in any way. which is super sad that people don't understand just how much of an impact doing something like that has on you and on your mind. So yeah, anything to add there? I
It's
know that was a bit
exactly
of an
the same we were talking about earlier. A person who cannot see the color red will not understand
right,
what it's like until they can see it.
right.
But unfortunately, there is only one way to do it. Look, uh, it's easy to say I have a slow metabolism, or I'm prone to depression, or and that's totally, they may be true. All of them may be true. There may be a genetic issue that keeps you the way you are. There may be a genetic issue, a biological issue that keeps you in the mood that you are. But until you get fresh air, take cold showers, go to the gym, and do all these things that are in your control, you have no right to talk about all these factors, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, if you don't understand how it works, don't do it. You don't have to understand how it works. I mean, you don't understand how electricity works, but you turn the switch on and off every bloody day, you know? So by your logic, don't freaking have the light on. Fuck you. You don't deserve to use electricity because you don't understand how it works. What kind of comment is that? You don't have to understand how it works. Just look at 100 people, right? 1,000 people successful. Do they do it? Yes. Just do it. Bloody, you don't have the right to tell them that it's a waste of time because you know where they are in that field. It's like me going to a gym and see a guy that is perfectly defined. Nah, that's not how you do it. Get out of here.
Mhm. Right. Okay, so I'm happy to wrap up there. So with my final question now, for people who are unsure about joining the real world because maybe they think it could be a scam for the $50, what advice would you have to them?
Take the $50 as a donation to good faith. If it is a scam, then $50 is out and you donated it to the fact that you can go around and save everybody is a scam. But that's an excuse. If $50 stop you, $50, I mean, I think it was priced to make it a no-brainer because it is a no-brainer. And look, I've been around a while. I saw programs, and my program, by the way, or our program, was super well reviewed. People were so happy with it, and we changed some lives. We charged $10,000, and it was worth it. These people have managed, I don't know how, with numbers, I know how, but just go for it. Go for it. It's incredible. You're not gonna regret it. I mean, if you do,
Mhm.
well, firstly, if you do, and allow me to say this with respect, the problem is with you, not with the program. I mean, if the program remains what it is now, the real world, what I've seen until this morning, the problem sits with you because you cannot not find value there. But if you really don't find value for whatever reason, if you really are, then just $50. $50. I'm sure
Mhm.
you drunk $50 of shit that you shouldn't have drunk, or pay $50 for membership that you don't know you have. So
Yeah.
for me to be out,
Okay,
just the truth.
cool. So yeah, thank you for that. And for people who want to find out more about you or contact you, where can they do so?
Sure. I think Instagram, the Luca Senatore, or just Google Luca Senatore. And yeah, there's not many people with my name. You might find my outdated blog where you can read some funny stories.
Okay. We'll add those to the description of the video. And yeah, Luca, a super insightful interview. Thank you. One of my favorites that I've done in the past,
Appreciate
I
that.
guess
Thank you so
240 something. So
much.
really enjoyed this. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your stories and all your knowledge. And I really look forward to doing the follow up at some point in future to see how
I,
you're doing.
I had a blast. I had a great time. I feel a bit conscious that I felt like I talked about myself a lot. But yeah, no, it's incredible. And some of the people that I interacted with the real world are real phenomenal people that I'm learning so much from, including yourself. I mean, so I feel very grateful to have crossed paths with somebody like you. And this was fun. Thank you so much.
Likewise. Likewise, Luca. And yeah, all the best to you.
Cheers, Rokas. Thanks. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.